Hello there, it's Paul here and welcome along everyone. As you probably see from the intro, totally different video this time. I'm a member of a closed Facebook group. It's quite small at the moment. It's for YouTubers with a YouTube channel that have a small workshop, i.e. under 150 square feet. Just a handful of us at the moment, so and what we decided to do is just set ourselves a challenge every now and then, and again from the title you probably see it's making a wand. As far as I'm aware, there's only about 5 or 6 doing this, and hopefully there will be links below to either the others doing this or a playlist somewhere, so please do go along, have a look. If you're not subscribed to them, support them. Some of these are incredible turners and general woodworkers as well, so there will be a variety of challenges that we do throughout the year from now on. So I've never made a wand before. First thing of all, I did a bit of searching on Google for images just to give myself an idea of the sort of thing I want to do. I came up with an extremely rough sketch just to give me some idea of the sort of like the direction I'd like to go, and I also wanted to add a little bit of a twist to it. So I have lots and lots of oak spindles which are absolutely ideal for this project, and I also have some sapele, so I decided to actually insert a couple of pieces of sapele either end of the handle as beads, and this is basically what I've come up with, and I've got to say I am extremely pleased with this. So the wand itself, I'll cover the box in a minute. So basically we have a piece of sapele here and on the end here. The rest is all oak, the end, the handle and the actual main part of the wand. And I wanted to give it more of a, I didn't want straightforward oak, so I wanted to give it sort of more of that oldie type look. And the pictures I'd seen on YouTube as well was to have these sort of like steps on the actual main wand itself, and therefore I think you need something a little bit fancy on the handle. I mean, obviously you don't need to, but I wanted to do something a little bit fancy on the handle as well. Now, I did a couple of pieces, test pieces with the ebonising solution, because I knew what it turned out was like oak, because I've obviously used it a fair bit on a few projects. But I didn't know how it was going to react with sapele. A sapele is a really hard wood, and as you can see there, it comes out jet black. So my issue was, when I did the wand, yes, the whole thing came out really black, and obviously putting those pieces of sapele in there, I wanted to show them somehow. So I quite happily, after I gave it the coat of ebonising solution, let it dry. I think I probably left it overnight to dry, and I slowly cut it back, and I think the oak coming through on the ebonising shows up really nicely. And it was then a case of doing a couple of pieces on the sapele to take them back, and then I decided to put a couple of small grooves in there and fill with the gilt cream, the gold gilt cream. And again, it was the first time I properly used the gold gilt cream. I'd actually got myself a set of paintbrushes this time and slowly built it up. And it was at that point I then left it overnight to dry, to set properly about up to about 24 hours. And then I started then using the clear gloss varnish that I've used on a few other projects, just sprayed it on, and it's got a little bit of a shine to it. It's not massively shiny. I wasn't bothered about that, but I've got to say I am super chuffed with that. It's nearly 15 inches long. That's about 375mm, and obviously to me a wand can be any size. So I didn't want to stop there. I basically the wand, brilliant, absolutely love it. But while I was doing that, I wanted really something for it to go on, for like a display stand. So I took another sliver of piece of oak. Basically, that's what I came up with, and I wanted that rustic look. Obviously, with the wand looking so smooth, a little bit of shine to it. I really wanted something a bit more contrast. So just to fit on there, and that is the finished item. I hope you enjoyed the video. Do check out the others. If this is your first time here, please do subscribe. I put up regular videos. This one's on a different day for a change, and click on the little bell button so that at least that way you get notified every time I upload a video. For my existing subscribers, again, I hope you like this one. It's something totally different to me, and again, your support is so much appreciated. So I'd appreciate it if everybody could hit the share button, hit the like button, and please do leave a comment below. So thanks a lot for watching. Bye. I'll start here with an oak spindle. It's about 350mm long, which is just a little over 12 inches. First of all, I'm going to chop this into 3, basically because I want to insert some sapele, some small pieces of sapele, about 20mm wide, into the handle, which will form probably part of beads either side of the handle. So with all the pieces cut to size, it's a case of just putting some glue on each side of the wood and then put them all together. Make sure they're all lined up properly before I tighten them in the clamp fully. Then I will leave these for at least a day before I then turn them. As you can see there, the sapele is a different size to the rest of the oak. Obviously quite important to sharpen the tools before you start work on a project. Now I've marked the centres here just by going from corner to corner, and I use a live centre because it's got a nice sharp point just to mark the actual centre point, which makes it a lot easier when mounting it onto the lathe. My live centre here is the one with a small point on it and a small cone. This stops really the live centre digging too far into the wood. Now with the size of this wood, I mean, you could run it just about any speed you like. I rarely go over, probably around about 1000 RPM, and it's just a case of just gently taking away with the roughing gouge until we get it to round. Once I've got it round, I decided to use the skew to start taking the actual wand end piece down, tapering it down. Soon discovered that this is going to be a long, slow job, so I ended up taking the majority of the wood away with the roughing gouge, and then came back to the skew chisel just to take it down a little bit further and smooth it all out. This is not the finished size, so I will come back to it, but I didn't want to get too thin before I worked on the handle. A little annoyed here, so this part of the handle that's already been shown as completed, I'd already done with the skew, and I've now come back with my detail gouge here, all being speeded up because it obviously just takes quite a bit of time. The spindle is actually starting to flex a bit, so it's also a case of supporting with your hand just to stop any vibrations. Just forming a wide cove here, shallow cove, which will be the centre part of the handle, and then a couple of smaller, sharper coves at each side. The detail gouge is ideal just for this sort of work. It's so easy just to take light cuts and nibble away at the wood. Because it's quite a sharp angle on the detail gouge, you can actually get quite well into sort of like tighter spaces. I did have a rough drawing of what I was going to do for the wand, and it acted as a guide, so it was more of a case that the wand took shape as I went along. So using the detail gouge here, still just undercutting the end here, so it looks like the piece of oak has actually been inserted in as a separate piece of wood. back to the schooner now. It's just a case of bringing the wand itself down to the right size. I then divide the length up into three. Basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to put slight coves onto this, and so that it's almost like each section has a lip on it. Decided to go back to my original skew that I bought with my cheap set of Axminster tools when I first started. This is actually sort of like an oval shaped skew, which usually is a lot harder to work with, but because it's actually quite a thin flat surface and this is a small spindle, it works really well for taking out the wood. And you can see here, this is where I do one of the lips, and you can see the cove on there on the top there, and that's how I carry on to do the next section as well. So just really taking the end of the back end of the wand down, and this is where the sanding goes on for the whole piece, through the grits right up to 400. My homemade ebonising solution, made this probably about 6 weeks ago, and it has really gone black now as a liquid. There's no traces of the steel wool in there, and this does have quite an effect on oak. I did a couple of test pieces before I even started this, just to see what it would come out like with comparison with the oak and the sapele, and I was quite surprised that the sapele actually comes out almost jet black. So obviously, because of all the coves and everything in here, tight pieces, it's just a case of getting your fingers wet. Doesn't matter, it's only a bit of vinegar at the end of the day anyway. While the ebonising solution dries, it's a case of trying to start off creating a little stand for the wand to sit on. So rather than getting out the bench planer, just use an ordinary electric planer from another offcut of oak, just to try and tidy this up a little bit. The two little supporting arms that I'm going to do, I just rough sketch these out, which I will cut on the scroll saw. I don't need these to be precise, I want them rustic looking. Same for the base, just want to cut out more of a jagged end, so again it doesn't look like a flat straight piece of wood. And now that the ebonising solution has dried, it's a case of just gently sanding it back with 400 grit paper. Back of the skew, just creating a couple of grooves in the actual sapele beads. Even at this end of the handle, there's still a fair bit of vibration, which is, you have to support the work. The gold gilt cream, ideally it would be best to thin this down a bit. This is the first time I've really used a brush to do this, so it's just a case of putting a small amount on as you go along, building it up slowly. So I've left this overnight to dry and come back out in the morning, just sanding it off again. Because this is the sapele, I actually want to start showing the sapele a bit more as well.
Also thinning out the oak as well, because I don't want the whole thing jet black. Using a clear gloss varnish, used this on several of my projects. Already gone through 2 or 3 tins of this and bought several more tins. Light gentle coats, just making sure I cover the whole of the piece, all the little ridges and everything like that. Drying time is about 20 to 30 minutes between coats. So while that's drying, back to the stand again, just drilling a couple of holes for where the uprights will sit in. I haven't drilled these right the way through the wood, it's only gone in about half the thickness. Using the rotary tool and the sanding bit, now just taking these down so that first of all they'll fit in the holes, and as you'll see then, I then just really smooth the whole things up so that they do look a bit more rustic. Then a drop of wood glue in each of the holes and just securing the uprights in.